and welcome to an Everyday Canines video. In this episode on teaching weaves, we're moving from 4 weaves to 6 weaves. I find this quite the exciting stage because once you get to 6, you're at a point where you're almost looking at proper weaving, because in competition in the UK you can have either 6 or 12 weaves, so it gets quite exciting at 6. There used to be also 9 weaves, but they're so rarely seen, because the problem with 9 weaves is the dog has to come out on the wrong side. So when the dog weaves on even numbers, they go in, out, finish on the left. It's a good way actually of telling if your dog got it right, because if they come out on the left, they probably got it right. With 9 weaves, because they were an odd number, the dog actually ended up coming out on the right, caused a lot of complication. Also, a lot of weaves are not easy to split into 9. So for various reasons, 9 has gone the way of the dinosaurs pretty much. You might see someone set it up at training just for proofing purposes, but that's what it is. I can't remember the last time I saw 9 weaves. Anyway, so we're going to add in an extra set of 2, and this setup should look pretty familiar. It's the 4 straight, and we're finishing on a 2 by 2 gate, if you like. I've got it actually at a slight angle. You could have it set completely square, but I've got it at a slight angle because I get to a point and I think, you know what, I don't think they need it completely square. Now, there are a couple of theories about teaching weaves, and some people, especially with channel weaves, they like to have the start easy and finish hard. So they'd have this the opposite way round, where the dog would have an easy start to find the entry and then have to slow down for the weaves. I don't like that, even on channel weaves, and that's where you tend to see it the most. The reason being, I think the dog is coming in at such speed because it can. It's not having to collect because of the entry, and then it gets in, it goes, oh my word, these are hard. So in a way, you're giving that easy entry, but then you're making it hard. And I feel that's counterintuitive. I prefer to start with a straight entry, which is the hardest part. The dog has got to collect, and then open the weaves up. It's almost like a reward. So the dog goes in, it's hard, and then it opens up and they go, yes, and they can blast. So that's the way I always do it. I always make it easier at the end, not at the beginning. And I know that people have different theories on that. That's how I do it, and it has helped a lot of dogs to get their weave entries and endings. So we've got a magpie here, and we're going to see what she does. Now I've got the extra 2 there. Now she hasn't done this setup in quite a while. She's been doing straight weaves for a long time now. We've still got a lot of proofing to do, don't get me wrong, but she hasn't seen this setup. So it'll be interesting to see what she does. So it'd be a bit like if you've got your dog and they've never seen this setup before. So I'm going to just start back, start fairly straight, and I'm going to ask for the behaviour. Weavers, and I'm going to throw through that hoop, poles, gate, whatever you want to call it. So that was pretty good, wasn't it? Now, of course, as always, we're going to do the other side. When you're teaching this at home, because I know she's done this and she's getting it, when you're teaching it at home, you might find that you do one session on the left to help them because their dog's learning, then you do a separate session on the right before you start into mixing them. Okay, pie ready? Weavers. Oh, I was too slow to throw. Weavers. And that was a really rubbish throw. Look what happened. I threw with my left hand and I took her straight past her. That is because I'm a really bad thrower of my left hand. So we'll go back to the right, even though it's not my hand I want to use. Okay. Weavers. Good girl. So that is an important example of where your reward placement can help or hinder your dog. So that is still a little bit too far out. If my reward is here, I can help her. The reason I'm throwing in rather than having a target. Now, I originally taught my weaves with a treat and train here, which is brilliant because it gave the dog something to aim for. The problem I'm now having is getting rid of the treat and train. When I haven't got the treat and train there, Magpie's confidence goes down on weaves. So, though it was great for getting her started, now I'm like, I've set myself up for another problem. But these are the things we learn. I didn't have that issue with Sparrow or Swift. It's an issue I just had with Magpie. It's one of these things you learn. Each dog is different. Again, no, I'm not going with her. I want her to get on with these by herself because I want them to be independent. Okay, ready? Come here. Weavers. Oh, Bad throw again. Important thing to note, I am giving her a word cue. You have not got a word cue yet, you shouldn't have, because you're too early on in the process. But because she has got a cue, I want to give it to her, because I don't want her at this stage just bumbling into weaves all the time. I want her to only do it when I cue it. But at your stage, you're not going to have a cue for your dog. So you're just going to be shaping this. Right, we're going to try and do this with a bit of a better throw. Can you see why I had to have a treat and train? Good girl. That time I didn't give her a word just to see what she did. And oh good, weave back as well. Perfect, weave back as well. I'm going to reward that. Some people say rewarding weaves like that back teaches them to back weave. I'm not that worried. Because when I'm doing sequencing, I don't tend to ask my dogs to go back and weave. Right. So you see how we're getting on there? It's going nicely. We know what the next stage is, don't we? Make it shallower. Just a reminder that when you're doing your weaves, do not overdo them. Now when she's got her weaves and we're doing full sets at 12, I do them 3 times a week and I keep the sessions really short. So for instance, if I set something up I want her to do and she nails it the first time, that's it. Reward, 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 leave it on that. Because if you overdo weaves, it's hard on the body, they get tired. If you, especially young dogs, you do too many weaves, they start to lose the rhythm, and it is hard on the shoulders and back, so it's not worth it. So I say 3 times a week, I'll set something up, and even if I'm perhaps training something, I will aim for maybe 3 repetitions, that's all. Okay, ready? Good girl. So that was fairly straightforward, wasn't it? We can do it the other side. So this is Magpie's weaker side. You ready? Ready? So you see we're not so confident this side. Weavers. Good girl. Good girl. So now we've gone like that. The next step, and these weaves are actually really probably closer than they need to be. They want to be about there. But the next step is now to add in them as a straight. The reason that has not got a leg there is because I've put it over here so that I didn't get any feet caught on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that one to here. And now let's see if we can get straight weaves. Okay, so all I did was I moved that back to here so it could link up with the rest. That's all I did. You would obviously do this as your end and fit it up as you needed to. It's just because that was the way my weaves were set up. So now we're going to see, can we do a full set of 6? Yeah. Can we do a full set of 6? There's a big reward in here. These are chicken and pork homemade treats. Okay, ready? Ready? Oh, not quite. Okay. Yes, good girl. Now, if I had the treat and train there, she'd power through with her head down. And it is noticeable for me that she's not, and she's looking high for the reward. So that's just something I've got to work through. And when I'm not doing something like this, I would actually have a jump at the end. So she's got to go over the jump before she gets the reward, and that's going to help keep the head down. Good girl. But this is good for you to see that even when you're experienced at these things, quirks come up because every dog is different. Okay, so we're going to have one more go on the left. See if we get that head down. I'm going to try and make sure I throw low. And then if we do that, we'll do the right. Ready? Good girl. That was nice. She's still thinking about it. And as I say, this is the thing I've got without my treat and train at the end. But it's good. And this is what we've just got to work through. Would I never use the treat and train again at the end of the weaves? Well, it all depend on the dog. As I said, used it with Sparrow, used it with Swift, no issue. All depends on the dog. So yes, I would, but I'd perhaps mix it up a bit more. We live and learn. And when you're teaching dogs, you're always learning something new. Pie! So now I just want to try the right hand side. Good girl. And if we've got this nailed, then we're done. So, ready? Yeah, good girl. Good girl, well done. So, There could definitely be more confidence there, I know that, but that is my little project at the moment. It helps when I've got an obstacle at the end that she's got something to drive to. Bear in mind, good girl, in a competition setup, you're never going to see weaves just on their own. You're always going to be coming from something and going to something. You don't finish on weaves, you don't start on weaves because they can't set the timers up. So you're always going to have something before and after. It's just something to bear in mind, and that's what I'm going to move on to next with you. Okay, so that, hopefully, take your time and you will now have 6 weaves. I'm going to have a look in the next video about some troubleshooting if you have difficulties, but fingers crossed, taking your time with that, you'll have 6 weaves. They may not be confident, but we can build on that in the next step. So I hope you've enjoyed the Everyday Canines video, and if you have, you might like to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And remember to click the notifications icon for new videos. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and now TikTok. And I hope to see you all again very, very soon.